And this was something I put together because people come into my office straight time, and you hear they are really upset. There's a lot of facts. I'm an old practicing lawyer. I put everything under a grid and analyze it and say, slow down. We got to sort some things out. Everybody wants the answer that's the silver bullet that gets me out from underneath a foreclosure. I don't have to pay back any deficiency, life's good. That's not the case. Only certain options are going to be available to certain people. So I let a lot of, Todd's going to have some of these brochures, and I think they're available for you. How would I talk to a distressed homeowner and not get into a bunch of legal advice? But, I do have people. So the first thing you want to consider is your financial situation on the left-hand side. Just 3 easy columns. Your equity position across the top. And for those in the audience, equity. How much more is my house worth than what I owe on it? Because some things just aren't available. I do have people come in and say, Richard, I bought a house for $750,000. I owe now more on it than what it's worth, but I make a lot of money, and I'd like to do a short sale. It's not going to happen unless you have the income problem, a long-term, financial hardship. So what I want to do here was list every possible thing you can do. You can see most of them on there. I can refinance if I'm one-to-one loan to value. And maybe can come up with some selling costs if it goes over when I close. I should refinance or sell out of that house is an opportunity for me if I don't want to modify and stay in it. You'll see the other choices are more of the forced ones, the difficult ones. A short sale. I've used that term loosely here a couple times. It has nothing to do with your height. Anybody can do one. If you own more, than what your house is worth, you've got a short sale. It could be the first lien holder that's short, the second, the third. Any lien holder on your property that's not going to be paid off in full by your sale is a short sale. And we'll talk more about that. Restructuring and modifying a loan, fantastic. I think that's the words that come out of my mouth every single time I talk to a homeowner. What's your intent? What do you want? And what do you want to do? You want to try and stay in this home. If they're severely upside down, they usually don't want to consider restructure and modification. Most lenders want you to consider it and walk you through it. I think it's an exercise that should be done every single time because homeowners have to live somewhere. A lot of them aren't thinking about that. I just want out from underneath this house to go someplace else. And in some cases, they're paying more than what they just left. So I always want to know, what that situation is, what they want. Bankruptcy is always out there. That's the only thing where you can theoretically force the lender to do something, right? Everything else is at the lender's mercy. I want to do a short sale or a deed in lieu. But, even the bankruptcy rules changed here recently. 2 years ago, there's basically a means test for the Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Again, I'm going to be quick on these terms. Chapter 7 was the one that's filed about 90% of the time. It says I'm going to liquidate everything I own and I want all my debts cleared out, basically taking the poison pill. And anybody, just about anybody, can file one up until a couple years ago. And now there's a means test. If your median income exceeds that for the state of Colorado for a family of your size, you can't file that Chapter 7, even though you're unmercifully upside down in your house and you have other problems. You're going to be forced into a Chapter 13. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Chapter 13s aren't fun. That says I'm going to try to pay back most of my debt. Most people fail. We'll talk some more about that. The deed in lieu, man, that's the holy grail. If you get one of those offered to you, take it. Especially if they're waiving the deficiency, and we'll talk some more about that. But these are the choices. I want people to open their eyes and say, I can't have the perfect solution. I can't have some of the things that are on here. I'm just not going to get them done. And this is not an end-all chart. You can always bend rules and get things done, but I want to get a conversation started with somebody who's in distressed real estate. How do we get started about your option? Let's take a look at the next slide. And again, there is no way to make this easy. This is a 2-hour consultation with a lawyer right there on the chart, free. I just listed those things on the left-hand side from the prior chart. You'll see the same corresponding issues of my options, short sale. I'm in this 125-day period, remember, the new period. My NED's been filed, the foreclosure has started. I need to know what I can do here. Short sale, the 2 bankruptcies, Chapter 7 or Chapter 13, a deed in lieu, or some form of a loan modification and restructure. What I tried to do was capsulize it. It is a moving target when people want to compare these options. and I wanted to put together some important items across the top that could affect, how about just the time to do this? What about people who just want to stick their head in the sand and say, I'm going to ride out the foreclosure? I don't care what happens. Richard, how long do I have till they drag me out, throw me in the street? 5 to 6 months under the current rules, okay? How about a short sale, Richard? We agree to do this. How long is it going to take to get that short sale approved? I'm being a little bit optimistic there, 45 to 60 days. That's probably more like 60 to 90 today. But I want to get people focusing on the facts of these choices. Richard, will I be out from underneath everything if I do a short sale? I mean, they'll accept this sale to a third party and never come after me for any additional money that I might owe? The answer is maybe. They're given it about 50% of the time, maybe more, but they're not as generous as they were a couple of years ago. But again, I can't go through every one of these. Richard, they're willing to approve my short sale and my deed in lieu, but they want me to sign a new note. I owe $80,000 more than what the house is worth, but they want me to sign a $20,000 note. That's a good deal. I'm not going to give people advice, but I'm like, if you can move the ball and reduce your deficiency and get the house dealt with and sold, that's a good idea, but people are afraid to sign that note. So there's all sorts of nuances. This chart is just another stab at trying to triangulate and chart around distressed properties. We've identified the alternatives. How do they compare? My next step, and unfortunately it's easy to give lip service, to get an attorney, talk to an accountant. How many people, when they're losing their home, have that ability? They don't. And they're going to turn and talk to Bart and say, how do I do? Bart's going to say, I'm not a lawyer. I can't tell you. You need to arrive at your own conclusion about what to do. Now, again, I talk to a lot of people. I don't represent them, but I take a lot of time explaining their options and what they can do. So use these. Todd has put these cards out on your chairs. They get the conversation going that needs to be discussed. There are several hotlines in the state of Colorado. There's a HUD hotline, and then there's a Colorado Housing Authority hotline. That's usually the next place that I turn people when they've got these thoughts in their head and they're moving towards a solution. They need some confirmation. They can't afford an attorney. Call these hotlines, and they're listed in our documents here in the state of Colorado. Our short sale addendum does have the numbers in there for the Housing Authority and the HUD hotline, and they're often very good at pushing through some of these solutions for you. Well, let's talk a little bit about a short sale, because we do so many of those on the Front Range. For anybody in this room, if I were going to do a short sale, I'm going to take a listing. I just about won't accept a contract in my office unless somebody can show me that an ownership and encumbrance report was done, showing the liens on the property. How many are on there, how many of them are going to be short. We do something called a net sheet, a settlement statement, every deal that comes through the door, because a lot of people, even some of the realtors, aren't aware that this property is upside down, maybe by a few dollars, but that's the name of the game today. We have to examine every property for the number of liens on there, type of liens. You're never going to get a short sale through or a deed in lieu if you've got 5 liens on the property, and one of them's your ex-spouse who's not happy with you. She's not going to release for $500.